Hello, Lions Nation, and welcome to this edition of Bleav in Lions. It's brought to you by FanDuel. As always, I'm joined by former Lions All-Pro safety Glover Quinn. I'm Trevor Thompson, and a big football game for the Lions coming up this week as they travel to LA to take on the Rams. We are going to get to that later on in the podcast, but up first, we've got a very special guest, and his exploits off the field demand that we talk about that first. He's DJ Reader, 10-year NFL vet, and this year's Lions recipient of the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. And it's not his first rodeo when it comes to that. Back in 2019, as a member of the Houston Texans, he was also their Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner. But beyond that, in 2022, he was also the President's Lifetime Achievement for Volunteer Service Award winner. And to qualify for that, you've got to have a minimum of 4,000 volunteer hours put in. So this guy's heart and soul are dedicated to the community. DJ, congrats on all your success. And we know a lot of this comes from your foundation, A Son Never Forgets. We're going to learn more about that as the podcast rolls on. But first, I'm going to turn it over to Glover. Glover, what do you have for DJ this morning as we get things started?
Man, first of all, I just want to say congrats too. That's amazing stuff, bro. Congrats to you. Shout out to first of all, I got a shout out to my guy Jelani Hawkins, man, producer of the Tubi show, Zero Stars, for getting you on and contacting us, connecting us so we can make this happen, man. But first thing, just getting into it, I just want to, talk about what it means to you to be a part of the community, get these awards, and like what drives you and pushes you to do this stuff, man.
Appreciate the congratulations, by the way. But I think what really drives me is just knowing that you want to leave a place better than what you found it. I've been blessed in life with a lot of opportunity to do a lot of things and, make some money here and there and, just been blessed on so many other fronts that I always feel like it's important to pay it forward. Um, I've never been one to sit in the house and not do anything. One, my mom's not gonna let me. Felicia Rita, if you know her, she's not letting that go down. She's always looking for something that we can do, to help the community. And it's kind of been that way since I was young. So it's not just my effort, it's a team effort, but even those days that you necessarily might be tired, you don't want to do it. You think about the times that you had to lean on somebody. I think that's the toughest thing. That's really what's important for me. Like you had to lean on somebody and somebody helped you, or you just didn't have it. And you think about those holidays when you want to be around family. And when I was younger, in the league, family necessarily couldn't travel. And those places became like my home, going to those men's centers or going to those centers and spending time with people and having turkey dinners and things like that. That really became my family during those times. So, I just wanted to continue just doing the work and putting it forward.
DJ, I know that your foundation, A Son Never Forgets, it sort of speaks for itself, a father and son bond. You had a strong bond with your father, and then your son, Rocky, is along there to announce your recipient, that you are the recipient of the Walter Payton Award. He came and delivered that news to you. How special was that moment? And if you can just talk about in your family, the bond between fathers and son and how meaningful that is.
Man, it's huge. Every son needs a father, man. I know you have one that obviously created you, but everyone needs somebody to show them the way and structure. And my dad did that for me, and I try to do that for my son. Me and my dad's relationship was amazing. I was homeschooled till the sixth grade, so I spent a lot of time with just my pops. Just talking. Those backseat conversations where he's just driving, all I can see is the back of his head, and he's just talking to me, man, over and over and over. And a lot of that information stuck. My dad was hard on me, but he wasn't, overly hard to where I resented it. It was always just the perfect amount. Even those whoopings that I got, those times I got disciplined, it was always explained why I got disciplined right after, and I hated it as a kid, hated it. But as I've gotten older and I have a son of my own, I understand it so much more, and I look at him with so much more respect. Um, and he just taught me, just I'm not just a son to him. I tell people this all the time. I'm a son to the community, the people who helped put a hand in where I'm at today. and to always treat everybody with respect, and even though some people don't deserve your respect, you treat everybody with respect because that's who you are. That's your character. It has nothing to do with them. Um, and I've always, tried to pass that forward to Rocky. And Rocky's a character, man. He's funny. It's like taming a wild bull, man. He's a last lick type kid, so I always got to get on him about that. But he's awesome, and it's really cool right now being in that 6-year-old phase where his personality is starting to really come out. He's a lot more silly than I was, but I love it, man. I just love to see it. He's living free and having a good time. So I just hopefully, I do my best. I'm trying to do my best to just guide that in the right direction, man, and make sure he knows that I'm always going to be here for him no matter what.
That's super dope, man. I got 3 kids, 3 boys of my own, man,
Oh
and
man.
that's it's super dope. I can't lie. I mean, I find myself doing the same things, the car ride conversations, because
Mhm.
I mean, when you got them in a car, bro, you kind of got their attention. I mean, unless they got their phone, there's nowhere they can run. They can't run through the house. They can't watch. I mean, they just got to sit there and listen, whether they want to hear it or not. And like you say, you just got to keep talking and saying the things over and over consistently. And like you say, they may not want to hear it, but it sinks in, and at some point in their life they'll be able to pull back from those talks, those lessons, as they start to see more things happening in their life. So
Mhm.
shout out to your dad, and man, like I said, I'm experiencing the same thing. But you've been in multiple, communities throughout the NFL,
Yeah.
obviously being in Houston and you won it, and now you're in Detroit. What's some things that you've learned, just from the Detroit community, about the Detroit community, the culture there, the people there, the city there, you know what I'm saying? It's my city.
The people got pride here, man, and a lot of it. They're very proud of being from Detroit, and that, to me, that's real cool because you always, you grow up and you hear people like, man, like you go off to college or whatever you do, there's people like, man, I can't wait to get out of my hometown. Can't wait to do this. Can't wait to do that. These people proud to be here. And they're proud of their sports teams, man, and that's been the coolest thing, From them having their own language, man, to the proud of American Cups, to the Buffs, man, to everything going on. It's just fun to see the community. They're proud people, and they're as much as you hear from the outside coming in, they are super nice and super helpful. Everybody who I've met here has been, really, really helpful, very nice. They talk, they show up. You walking down the street, you say something to somebody, they're gonna say something back. It's not like one of those places where you throw up your hand and wave and people just gonna look at you crazy.
Right.
And that's been, unique, and it's awesome. And it's also cool to see, a lot more people that look like me doing a lot more major things in a city like this. Like it's the people that you communicate usually look like you, and in my perspective, and you don't get that everywhere. You don't get that sense of comfort everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it breaks down a lot of barriers when you're having to talk to people, and when you're around in these communities, you understand, like, hey, this is a lot similar to the place that I'm from, and you can really break down those barriers when you're talking to folks, and that's been cool.
DJ, I was listening to some of your videos, and you talked just a lot about legacy and a
Yeah.
lot about leaving the importance of your name, and what your dad left you was your name and carrying that on. If you could just talk a bit about that, and the son never forgets, your foundation, how all that ties together, what your foundation does, and the legacy that you're hoping to leave through your name.
Yeah, my pops always talked to me about you play for that name on the front of your jersey, but the respect on the back. And I've always thought that was a really cool quote of him. But as I get older, it resonates just importance of, man, I just want my son to know, and the people around me and my family to know, like, hey, like our last name means something. Through my playing career, I can't always give him my playing career. I've always tried to play the game the right way, play really hard. I play a selfless position at nose guard, man. It's not like you're gonna get all the guts and glory of what's going on, but it's been fortunate and it's allowed me a lot. But through it, so I never forgets. Um, I wanted, for my dad's quotes and last name to live on to mean something really. And I felt like it was important to me. I felt like he was taken from me a little bit too early, and it was important for me to make sure that his legacy didn't go wasted. So through all that, man, doing all the work, it's important. I don't need any, I tell people all the time, I don't need any rewards for doing it. I do it because I love it. The resource rooms, I saw my dad being a teacher and how much kids struggled and relied on other teachers to buy them folders, backpacks, pencils, papers, whatever. And, I mean, if anybody knows anything about teacher salary, it's not like it's them, they're making the most money. And so I wanted to be able to give help there and give some grace there. The football camps I hold back home, I truly care about those kids. I tell my brother all the time, like, we pour so much money into my high school just because I care and want those kids to have opportunity. Um, I want them to have a true opportunity to go off and know that they can change their lives by going to college and getting a free education. And, I can't really do much beyond that. But there's plenty of
Right.
schools out here that you can go and further your education and do things like that. But the camps I hold, I care about those kids in the community. I want them, I don't think I think sports are important. I don't think it's the only way out, but I do think it's an important way for kids to be able to take that step. Everybody can't afford to go to school. If you have a gift and you can exploit that gift to be able to get you into the education system, I think it's super important that you do it. So those are the things that I do, man. And I care about one, the city that I'm from. I care about Greensboro, North Carolina. I wear it on my heart and sleeve. I care about the people in that community and everything. So I try to take that little bit of Greensboro with me everywhere I go. And that legacy is super important to me.
I got one
Yeah.
thing for you as well. I just want to know where you find the time. I mean, like I said, for the President's Lifetime Achievement Award, you needed a
Yeah.
minimum of 4,000 community hours or volunteer hours served at the time. I'm guessing this was a few years ago. You were about 27, 28 at the time. That's
Yeah.
still early in life. You're a pro football player. We all know the dedication it takes to be a pro athlete. That takes up
Yeah.
everybody's time. That's a full-time commitment. Where do you find the time, guy, to put in to these volunteer efforts?
Man, I think before I had my son, it was a little bit easier because I just had time. I had limited amounts of time, man, and we were just putting in work. Me and my brother were just finding things to do. It was really, right before the foundation and stuff got started. Me and my brother was just finding things to do. Every week we were finding something. On Tuesdays we were finding something. Like me and my brother Wesley Lewis, we was really out there just working, and all my other friends came along, and we made it kind of just like a friend thing. It's something I told you, my parents did it all the time when we was younger. So if they found time with running my crazy self around, then I could always find time. And then as my son's gotten older, he's wanted to do it more with me.
Oh,
He
that's
enjoys
awesome.
going out there and getting to play with the kids and hang out and just throw the football back and forth or have fun while I'm out here doing the events. And I thank my team for always finding things that are, I would say, just helpful. They always bring ideas to me that I feel like we can get done, and it's always in windows that work around my schedule. I might lose a couple hours of just rest, but not any sleep, man, because it's important. And once you get there and you feel the energy, it really fills your cup.
Right.
So I think that's you make time for things that you want to do, and I've always made time for this. I felt like it was important.
Man, and you've been a 10-year guy. And I gotta say, man, this is my first time talking to you or meeting you, but I will say I can tell you're a great guy because I mean every time I text you, you respond quickly. You don't get that all the time, man. And that right there, I think, is a lost art in people nowadays, man. Like to text somebody, they respond, text multiple times, they respond. And, so I got to give you a shout out for that right there. But, being a 10-year guy and having some younger D-Linemen on this Detroit team, do you encourage those young guys to get involved in the community, or do you kind of just, stay away from that and let them do their own thing?
Um, First of all, you had a reference. That's why I responded quick. When you got a reference, it's easy.
He
It's
wouldn't have
easy.
responded to me, G. It's a good
No, if you got a reference, it's easy for me to respond quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's easy for me to make up my mind. I'm all right. I got to make sure this is a priority. You got to make sure I get this done. But as far as the young guys, man, you know, I tell them how important it is. I think that we're in a different era of like
Definitely.
with NIL, this, that, and the third. These guys have money for so long. Like, you know, we was broke, so we
Right.
understood more of the struggle about what was going on. We was closer to those people than we thought. You know what I mean? Like closer to the people you're trying to help than you thought, especially in college. Like,
Right. No question.
I remember my roommate was just up here last weekend. He was just talking about, bro, it's crazy because we was taking turns, see who was going to call their mom so we can get a pizza this week or something. You know what I mean? And these guys don't necessarily have that struggle. So I think they get involved through work a lot more at their own pace, but I do think they're a little bit more selfish with their time because
Right.
it's easy to get yourself distant from what's really going on in the community. Not all of them,
Right.
but there's some of them, and I try to encourage them in the room. You know, I try to tell them that this game or this propaganda. I don't know necessarily agenda. I guess I would call it that people try to make you believe that you are 1 to 2 paychecks away from being a millionaire rather than 1 to 2 paychecks away from being broke. It's crazy to me, you know, and I think that I try to make them understand that there's a lot more people out there that are 1 to 2 paychecks away from being flatlined than they are from
Right.
being where you are in your shoes. And if you from somewhere or you got something, you should try to help. And you can't always help, but time is help. And community events are help. I'm not saying you got to go out there and just give money to people.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. But I do tell them like a lot more people need to see your face, and you need to be around. You need to be accessible, especially to these young kids that are in the community.
DJ, before we get to talking about the Rams, I do want to ask you one last question about your dad, and you've shared a lot about him right now. But just one other thing that you think that resonates in your mind about him that you'd like to share with everybody else.
In my opinion, just a true definition of a man, a community dad. My dad had rheumatoid arthritis, so he had to retire. But I've never seen a man work harder to make sure that not only I was fed and taken care of, but every friend that's been to my house that needed anything got it with my dad. Whether that was a talk, something to eat, coaching kids in my coaching kids in my recreation basketball center, picking up some of my friends from schools, creating relationships with them. My mom and dad have fostered kids coming in when I left off to college. Some of my friends came over and stayed with us. So he was a special man. He was very, very special. He's the second youngest of 7 boys, so I know that house was chaotic that he grew up in. But he's a special dude and always taught me the value of hard work, a lot of life lessons, and I wouldn't be where I'm at right now without him.
Well, Thursday, February 5th is when they announced the national winner for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and we certainly wish you the best there. Well deserved if it's your turn this time around, DJ. So thank you for all you do in the community. Let's switch things to football. Glover, for that, I'm going to turn it over to you as we get set for this big game against the Rams this week, taking on Matthew Stafford, who right now is the FanDuel odds-on for the MVP. Got your hands full on the defensive side of the football this week, DJ. What are your thoughts, Glover?
That's what I want to know. Like, Brian Branch went down. Kirby Joseph has been down. I'm a defensive back, so that's that's what I think about. Terrion Arnold is down. I mean, we're missing half of, if not 3/4 of the opening day secondary, and we're going against one of the hottest quarterbacks in football in Matthew Stafford, who also always, I feel like, has a little extra motivation when he's playing against the Detroit Lions. Do you guys in the defensive line room just say, hey, we got to pick up that slack knowing that we just lost Brian Branch? We don't have all of our guys in the secondary. we got to pick up the slack, put some pressure, get some sacks, do something to try to help those guys out in the back end.
Yeah, I think we know rush and coverage go together, man, and I think we know we got to step up during this time of the year. It becomes about the guys up front. Somehow Matt Stafford is out there getting younger. It's amazing to see.
Crazy, ain't it?
I don't know how it's happening, man. This man is out here just getting younger. The play in the face, I don't know what's going on, but they got a good offense, man. They got a good offense, and Sean does a good job over there calling that thing. But we don't worry about what's behind us. We know we still got some good guys in there. We've seen them all year. I don't think necessarily just everybody else has seen them.
Right.
And so we're confident in those guys behind us. We got different guys stepping up in those different roles, and I think you got Avonte Maddox, who's played a lot of ball. Might get my boy Hallett out there, who's
Yeah.
played some great ball, man. And at corner you got Rocky Sin, you got DJ Reed, you still got to meet Nick Whiteside. You got guys. We got guys,
Right.
man, that we're real confident in, and we've seen them play a lot during practice and around, but they just hadn't been out there all the time for the fans to see, so they might question it. But other than that, up front, we just feel like we got to take over and do our thing. We know it's going to be a tough game. We know he's always going to have it. He probably does have that little chip on the shoulder about the Detroit Lions. But we know we got a quarterback on the other side who's also got a chip on his shoulder about the way the
Right.
situation went down, man. So
good point.
we don't necessarily worry about that part. We just go out there and try to control what we control and do what we do.
And so the last few years, the Detroit Lions have been in a situation where you guys have basically been controlling your own destiny, been kind of gliding at this time of the year. And this year, you guys kind of find yourself in a different situation. You're fighting for your lives. And, going out last week was a big time win that you guys came through when you had to absolutely have it. What's the mindset? What's the feeling now being on the other side of it, where each week you're fighting for your lives, as opposed to last year, you guys are kind of gliding through this time of the year?
What's crazy is we weren't still gliding last year. If you remember, we was in that dog fight with Minnesota, who was
oh wow, yeah,
like only lost
True
3
statement.
games last year. So
True statement.
it's really a similar situation. Our division's really, really good, man. And I think there's 2 divisions that our division and their division are super good. So you got 2 teams who really got their back against the wall. It take you from, in their case, it could take them from a home playoff game to being a wild card team with only 4
Right.
losses. In our case, we're still fighting to be in the hunt, man. And it's just the NFC's been good this year, man. We got some good teams on this side, and
Really good.
I was telling somebody the other day, I'm looking at the AFC side, and I'm like, man, like they just bunch of teams with 2, 3 wins, 4 wins. I'm like, it's crazy. It's wild over there. I'm watching Pittsburgh's in control of the division at 7-6 now, and it's wild to watch. But man, this is what football's about, man. It's not gonna always go your way and go perfect. We're gonna be playing some good ball, and we know our backs against the wall and what we gotta do and get done. But that's the perfect time to get hot, right?
Right.
I've been on teams, I've been in Cincy, I've been in Houston, and I've been a part of teams that won 9 in a row, 10 in a row, and then we're going to the playoffs and just staying hot and that's all we did in Cincy that one year. We stayed hot. It wasn't nothing crazy, miraculous. We stayed hot. We got some turnovers. Turnovers started coming in bunches. Players started getting back right, bodies feeling good, and that's what happens, man. You end up taking over the games. Coaches do a good job of just calling that thing right, and we got the best thing about us is we got a great offense.
Mm-hmm.
We got some really skilled guys on offense, and they're just getting healthier and healthier. So, as we've done a little bit of the opposite on our defense, they've gotten healthier and healthier and lifted a lot of that load off our back and made sure, everybody knows, like, we're going to put up some points, so we just got to stop them.
DJ, I want to talk a little bit more about your defense. Kelvin Shepard, first-year D coordinator. He came on our show a little earlier in the year. By the time that guy was done, I was ready to run out in traffic for this guy. He had me
Yeah.
hyped up. This guy is a motivator. What's made him special and what's made him effective in his role this year that you've appreciated from your vantage point?
I think being a little bit younger and closer to the game, in that way, and it's somebody that we were familiar with. It's hard losing a coordinator like AG. AG was great, just from a coach, dad standpoint. Shep's more like your big brother. He's gonna be a little bit harder on you. He's gonna be he gonna be a little bit harder on you, man. And I've always been one that appreciates something like that, And I had Mike Vrabel when I was in Houston for a year, and it's similar as in he's gonna question and he's gonna challenge you in ways, you know what I'm saying, to make sure that that hey, I want the best out of you. I'm not gonna let you settle for not having the best and not doing your best, and there's something to be appreciated about that. I've enjoyed playing for him this year. I've enjoyed the system, enjoyed the guys, being around there. And it's a lot more, hey, if you don't like this, we can get out of this. You know what I mean? We don't gotta stay in this. We can get out of it. But we will talk about that during the week, and that's been good. I think Shep does a good job of trying to put us in good positions.
About Matthew Stafford, but the Rams offense as a whole. You've got Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, who had a huge week last week, very effective as wide receivers. And then Kyron Williams, great running back. Blake Corum is starting to come into his own as well. When you guys are in your meeting rooms and you're game planning right now, where do you feel the biggest threats come from?
The run game's always super important to us. We gotta they're gonna throw the ball around. So we always gotta make sure we gotta make it one more dimensional. We gotta make it one less dimension that they can do. So we gotta focus on stopping the run game, keeping their yards per carry down. And then they're gonna make some plays at receiver. They got some really great receivers, man. But it's about being physical and challenging those guys. We've had guys who are great receivers on other teams, and we end up challenging them anyway every week. So I think that's a super important thing. Devontae Adams is what he is. He's amazing. Puka, can't be said about those two. But I think we got a chance to have advantage in the run game and be able to do our thing. And I think that's super important. So our goal is to help with the run game and make sure that we can try to make them one dimensional.
Yeah, I mean, I like the matchup. I mean, last week going into Dallas with CeeDee Lamb playing the way he was playing and George Pickens playing the way he was playing and how hot they were, I was a little worried about the secondary. Can't lie. But they showed up and they played well, competed at a high level, and then, like you said, the offense was amazing, putting up points and things like that. So I feel a lot more confident going into LA this week. I think they're going to be up for the challenge. I think the Lions like when their back is against the wall. I think you guys like that, and you guys come out with that energy. And when you guys come out with that energy and play, man, I've said it all year. You guys are one of the probably best teams in the league. Mature football team, haven't lost 2 games in a row. So I expect you guys to go on the road and come away with a big win. I think, most of the time, like you said earlier, you see teams that are in this part of the season where you're fighting for your playoff lives in the last 4 or 5 weeks, and you guys got to start playing playoff football right now. And you just take that momentum right on into the playoffs, and you get a couple big wins, and you never know where you guys end up at. So I like you guys this week, man. I'm excited for the game. I'm gonna have me some whiskey like we always talk about. Sit back and and watch the show. That's all I got.
DJ, right now the FanDuel odds say that the over-under is set at 54.5 points. I'm wondering what favors your team coming into this one, a shootout or a lower scoring game?
I think we always would want it to be a lower scoring game, but being realistic, like I know both teams are gonna score some points. They're gonna make some plays. They're at home in their house, but I think we're gonna make some plays as well. And so I don't necessarily know how to say if it's a shootout, but I think some points gonna be scored.
Well, I mean, last week the over and under, I don't remember what it was, 50 something, and at halftime or in the first half, it was like a low scoring game, and it ended up being 74 points. I mean, just offensive, juggernaut in the second half. Both teams, and obviously the Lions putting up a lot of points. So I definitely can't see this one being a low-scoring game with Matthew Stafford, with Jared Goff, with, and we all know it, man. That their history is going to be linked every game that they play. It is what it is. They probably won't say it to the public, which I wish they would say it. I think it makes it even cooler. But, they definitely talk about it at home. Yeah. Probably in the locker room. Jared Goff wants to go back to the Rams and put up numbers, and Stafford probably always wants to put up numbers against the Lions. So that's going to be a fun game. I'm looking for it to be a shootout. So whatever the over is, I'm taking the over because they're going to put up some points.
Yeah, and Jared a Cali kid, so he going back home.
Right.
Not only is it the Rams, he going back home to the crib, man. So I know he always gonna try to put some buckets up at the crib.
It's gonna be fun, and I'm sure the Lions fans will be doing a Jared Goff chant in LA.
Yeah,
the Lions fans will be there chanting Jared Goff. That's gonna be dope. I can't wait to see that.
DJ, before we let you go and wrap this show up, just take our audience inside the locker room right now. What's the temperature like? What's the emotional level like for you guys as you make this playoff push with just a few games left in the season, and this being like every game now is going to be the biggest game of the season, but you are taking on the number one team in the NFC?
Its confidence is high and urgency is high as well, and I think that's a good mix together. I think when that mixes together, you got something special brewing. So everybody's in there. Confidence is high. We're coming off a big win, obviously. But we know it doesn't last too long, and it's a team we're familiar with. We've played them. I know they've played them the last couple of years, and then last year we played them. So we played them, so we understand it. I've fortunately played them in the Super Bowl and Cincy a couple times. So I played against this team, and I understand what they bring. So the confidence is high, and we know what we got to do. So the urgency is even higher, and I think that we're gonna have a couple good practices this week, and really dive into what we need to do. Guys locking in on film, but we gotta go out there and play it on Sunday, man. We gotta go out there and do it, and I think everybody knows that. There's no woe is me, how we get ourselves in this situation. Is hey, we're here now, and let's gear up. Let's put our fist up. We got our back against the wall, and let's swing, and let the chips fall where they may.
I like it.
Glover, got one more thought for DJ? One more thought on the game before we wrap this up?
Well, I like it. I like this situation that they're in. I said at the beginning of the year, I wanted them to be in tough situations. I wanted them to face some adversity. I wanted them to feel that pressure. And they're in it, and they've been responding, and I look forward to continue this week. So I'm excited for the game, and this is just a big win on the road. If you're not winning a division, you're gonna have to go on the road in the playoffs. So these are great games to go on the road against the top team, and let's square up and let's see what it do. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited too, and certainly appreciative of DJ Reader joining us here on this edition of Bleav in Lions. Good luck in LA this weekend, DJ. Good luck on the 5th of February for the National Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. Congratulations on being the Lions recipient this year. Well-deserved, and thank you so much on behalf of Lion fans everywhere and NFL fans for all you've done in the communities that you've been a part of during your 10 years in the NFL. You're a very special character guy, and we really appreciate your time here this morning.
Man, of course, appreciate y'all for having me, man.
Appreciate you, man.
DJ Reader, our guest on this edition of Bleav in Lions, brought to you by FanDuel. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to share, and be sure to enjoy Lions and the Rams coming up this Sunday. Glover and I will break it all down for you on the other side on our review edition of Bleav in Lions. We will see you then, everybody. Thanks for joining us.